Woo! You finally got that phone call that you've been waiting for. You finally got the interview that you have been searching for, the company that you really want to be with. You're super excited. This job is going to put your HR career on the map, but will it really put it on the map? These are some of the top questions that you should be asking before you accept the job. Let's get into it. Finally, getting the job interview can be super exciting, but not all companies are created equally. So, you want to be careful when you try to select the company that you are going to actually have your career nested at for years to come. Some of the top things you want to look out for is whether or not the manager is available to talk to you whenever you have questions. You want to make sure that there is a healthy team dynamic amongst the members that are within that department. And you also want to make sure that HR actually has a place within the organization, that they're not being ignored and they're not actually a little toward themselves. Another thing that you need to be looking out for is there growth potential? Can you take your career to the next level at this organization, or is there kind of like a glass ceiling where you're stuck in that generalist role, you're stuck in the coordinator role, and you can't really quite make it to manager or VP or any lateral movement within the organization? So here's one of the questions that you should consider asking to get to the bottom of why the position is open and is there high turnover within the department or within the organization. Ask them, why is this position open? How long has this position been open? Do you feel as if the person who previously had this role, that they had the tools that they needed to do the job? And this kind of gets the manager talking and opening up that dialogue to really understand what that role is, what the needs are, and where there have been complications in the past. And it's okay to ask if multiple people have been in that role and they have a tendency to fail around the same 6-month time frame, or maybe even less of a time frame, where they just don't have the support that they need to excel. Sometimes managers will respond to that question saying, well, they had everything that they needed. I'm not quite sure the reason why these candidates are getting the job and then they're leaving. Well, if that's happening 2, 3 to 5 times in a row, and obviously there's something that's a little off. Another question that you should be asking, whether or not HR has any clout within the organization. Do they carry any weight? Does HR, do the employees really respect HR? Does the C-suite really respect HR? You want to get to the bottom of this as well by asking this question: how do you feel the organization responds to HR? How does HR interact with the C-suite? How does HR interact with the employees? And you'd be surprised on what the answer will be when the manager responds to this. The manager holds the key to this. And if the manager does not have a spine or doesn't have a whole lot of respect within the organization, it also means that the HR department doesn't have a whole lot of respect within the organization. And if the manager has a whole list of things that they've been trying to get implemented for a very long time, and they seem to not be, getting any movement with it, they're kind of treading water, and they keep getting thrown new projects along the way, and they're not making any progress. These are indicative things that you should be aware of, because not only does the manager look bad within the organization, you'll be coming in underneath this manager. And, even if you are successful at making change within the organization, oftentimes the manager will resent you for the progress that you've been making. So you want to get that clarification. And I'm going to move on to the next question, is how you and the manager will be working on projects together, because you want to receive credit for the things that you do without having your hands tied together and not being able to have that movement within the organization that you need. If an organization is looking to make changes, but you're constantly butting heads with your manager who has no respect within the organization, it is very obvious that your career will not last very long within that organization. Another question, especially in the panel interview setting, a lot of companies are rolling out the panel interviews and they have 5 or so odd people on the panel. Some of them have absolutely nothing to do with your job, and some of them will. You want to ask each panelist how you will be interacting with them throughout the day and how they feel HR has a good impact or poor impact on the organization. Now, this question is kind of designed for a few things. You want to make sure that your team members are free to speak. That means that the manager is not butting in or another team member is butting in and not allowing them to answer the question. This is a team dynamic type of question. And if you have a manager who wants to be front and center all the time and not giving anyone else an opportunity to talk, well, you already know how you're going to be treated once you join the team. So that's another thing that you need to be on the lookout for. So one of the big questions that you always want to get to the bottom of when you're joining the HR department, you want to make sure that HR really even has a space within the organization. Like, they have a tendency to be doormats on so many levels. And when the organization just wants HR to agree with everything that they're doing, the hiring managers want you to agree with everything that's going on, even though it's totally out of compliance, it's totally out of whack, you're going to end up sending the organization straight to court if you don't get those safety manuals in check, you don't get the handbooks updated, not paying the employees on time, not having them categorized correctly or classified correctly. These are huge issues that have to be addressed, and it's up to the manager and the organization to decide whether or not they really want to straighten those things out. And you want to get to the bottom of where HR stands with that and how the organization views HR, because if it doesn't have a very strong leg to stand on, you're going to be fighting tooth and nail all the time to get anything done, and you're going to spin your wheels. You're going to end up checking out and getting burned out on the job. So ultimately, I just want you to go with your gut. When you feel as if things are a little off, I know that there's a lot of excitement surrounding a job interview, but this interview, you need to understand that you're interviewing them as well. And so it should be a two-way street. It shouldn't be them asking all the questions and you not having an opportunity to actually ask any questions in return. So you want that communication to continue on flowing throughout the interview. And again, go with your gut. I'm Yannicka. I hope that you have enjoyed this content, and I will see you in the next video.